Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I hope all of you are doing well. Today we are going to start a new unit of pharmacology, that is GIT pharmacology, and we'll be covering this chapter in a stepwise pattern, starting today with antiemetics. Then we'll move on to a very common and prevalent disease of our country, that is acid peptic disease. Almost 1 or 2% in every family are suffering from this condition because of our dietary modifications and lifestyle. Then we'll move on to antidiarrheals and laxative or purgative drugs. With that, we'll finish the GIT and we'll start on with a very important topic, that would be central nervous system pharmacology, CNS pharmacology. And before moving on to antiemetics, which is today's topic, you should be familiar with few GIT terminologies which I'll be sharing in the WhatsApp group of your class, in which we'll be covering different definitions which are very important and repeatedly being mentioned in various lectures of GIT, like sialagogues, emesis, emetics, antiemetics, and laxative. You should be familiar with these terminologies. And with that, we'll move on to our today's lecture. Nausea is basically a disagreeable feeling before vomiting, and also adverse effect of many of the drugs which you have covered in pharmacology. And your favorite adverse effect. An involuntary forceful expulsion of contents of stomach via mouth and sometimes nose is called vomiting or emesis. So vomiting or emesis can be self-induced or voluntary, which is seen in the cases of bulimia, which is an eating disorder, especially seen in young girls who keep on eating, and after eating large quantities of food, they then induce vomiting. And involuntary defense mechanism is the reason of vomiting, and it has got a number of triggering factors, which we'll be discussing one by one. And students, please try to brainstorm a bit which things can provoke vomiting in an individual. Then we'll move on to next slide. It can be a part of organ damage, like affecting any disease of the stomach or any disease of cardiovascular system, like in angina or MI. There is accompanied by vomiting. Even if there is liver pathology like hepatitis, then there is vomiting. Similarly, any disease process can also accompany vomiting. And chemotherapy induced, which is a very a severe type of vomiting caused by chemotherapy when the patients are undergoing especially cancer chemotherapy. Then there are anesthetics, as you have covered general anesthetics, and there are few general anesthetics which provoke severe vomiting. And this question is also asked in your exam, that which general anesthetic is best, as it is free of post-op nausea and vomiting. So that is propofol. Then harmful substances which apparently seem to be very colorful and attractive, like the Redi Cola Ganda, but of course that has a sometimes leads to food poisoning and can affect the stomach as well. Then this is a common adverse effect in some individuals who cannot tolerate, and there is motion sickness and seasickness. There is vomiting, and this is another cause of the vomiting, which in first trimester of pregnancy there is excessive vomiting, which is called hyperemesis gravidarum. Then we have sometimes the memories, like your first visit to DH. Probably some girls, especially, might have vomited or felt nauseated. Then there are odors and tastes. Sometimes you don't want to share your room with the siblings because of some issues like that. We have, let's move on to some serious talk now. Causes of vomiting. It's nausea and vomiting may be a manifestation of many conditions itself and may occur due to stimulation of vomiting center that respond to inputs from. So vomiting center की बात है. Vomiting center कहाँ पे located है? As you can recall, in the medulla, and it receives inputs from CTZ, which is the chemoreceptor trigger zone, disturbance of vestibular system, higher cortical center stimulation, and the periphery via sensory nerves like pharynx and GIT can also provoke vomiting. So in this picture you can clearly see, okay, there is the location of the vomiting center, and adjacent to it is chemoreceptor trigger zone that is devoid of the blood-brain barrier. So if we classify emetics, or those drugs which induce vomiting, are stimulants of CTZ, which are apomorphine and morphine. Apomorphine is a derivative of morphine, and irritants of gastric mucosa like mustard, which is commonly used in our household, and sodium chloride, which is a common salt, may also lead to emesis. And Apicohana and digitalis, they also have dual effect by stimulating CTZ and causing irritation of gastric mucosa. And Apicohana is also derived from the plant and is used as emetic. So apomorphine is basically obtained by treating morphine with hydrochloric acid, and it's a dopamine agonist as well. Then we have Epicohana, which is obtained from the dried rhizome and roots of this plant, Carapacia epicohana, and it's also available as a syrup form. It induces vomiting within 15 minutes. Then we have mustard, as I already told you, a very commonly used household remedy for used in many food products as well. So it is taken with 1 teaspoon of water for inducing vomiting. So now we move on to the pathophysiology of emesis. Basically, first of all, you should know what is CTZ. It's an area of the medulla that communicates with vomiting center to initiate vomiting, and it is physiologically outside blood-brain barrier. So mind one thing, those drugs which are going to cause emesis, or by blocking the CTZ, they would be devoid of the CNS effects. Then CTZ contains various type of receptors like opioids, D2, 5-HT3, which is serotonin, and substance P. That is why opioids like morphine, they induce the chemoreceptors trigger zone and cause vomiting. If you can recall from the chapter of morphine, this question was asked again and again, okay, what are the centers which are stimulated and inhibited by morphine? So this CTZ is stimulated by some drugs like opioids, general anesthetics, chemicals and toxins in the blood, CSF, as well as radiation. The periphery via sensory nerves, GIT irritation, MI, which is myocardial infarction, renal or biliary stones, and disturbances of vestibular system. It is by motion sickness, higher cortical center stimulation like emotional factors, nauseating smells or sights. So now I'm going to show you this diagram. It's very important to have a look on it and memorize it, and keep memorizing and recalling and draw the diagram, because once you draw this diagram, this flow diagram, then you will be able to understand the pathophysiology of emesis, and it would be easier for you to understand where various antiemetic drugs act. So if you can see, there is a vomiting center which is located in the medulla, and it is receiving inputs from various centers like chemoreceptor trigger zone. Then we have vestibular nuclei, then we have pharynx and GIT. So if we see, vestibular nuclei is stimulating the vomiting center and causes motion sickness. Cerebral cortex is stimulating it, and it is provoked by smell, sight, or thought. And chemoreceptor uh, trigger zone is stimulated by cancer chemotherapy drugs as well as opioids, and the CTZ is outside the blood-brain barrier. Then in the pharynx and GIT, chemo and radiotherapy as well as gastroenteritis can stimulate the vomiting center. So there are various types of receptors present, as you can see clearly. So in this picture, you can well appreciate the various receptors present in the centers like muscarinic receptors, serotonergic, and H1 histaminergic receptors are present in the medulla. And then muscarinic and histaminergic receptors are present in the vestibular system, and they cause the motion sickness after stimulation. Similarly, in pharynx and GIT, there are the presence of the serotonergic receptors. Then we have D2 receptors, which are present outside the blood-brain barrier, and which stimulates the CTZ and opioids and serotonergic receptors. So now we move on to the classification of antiemetics. There are various subgroups. Number one is prokinetics, which increase the motility of GIT, in which we have metoclopramide and domperidone. Then anticholinergics, we have hyoscine and meclizine. Hyoscine is also called scopolamine, and you must have studied that in ANS when we did the treatment of motion sickness with scopolamine patches, and it's a very hot favorite MCQ as well. Then we have antihistamines, which we have already covered, H1 blockers, cyclizine and promethazine. Both of these are first generation H1 blockers because they cause sedation. Then we have neuroleptics, in which we have chlorpromazine and prochlorperazine. These are antipsychotics basically, which we have already covered in CNS. Then we have 5-HT3 receptor antagonists like ondansetron and granisetron. Then we have cannabinoids, which are very strong, potent antiemetics, and which are given for the severe cases of vomiting, like chemotherapy induced, or the vomiting which is resistant to the traditional drugs, in which we then give these drugs like dronabinol and nabilon. Then we have neurokinin NK1 receptor antagonist, that is aprepitant. Remember one thing, students, the classifications are very, very important of all the pharmacology. So you must memorize classification by heart, because one question usually comes in from every chapter or every unit regarding the classification. So if you do the classification, automatically you are able to understand the pathophysiology, mechanism of action of that drug. Like if you look for the antihistamine like cyclizine, if you know H1 are located where and what is the function, they are promoting vomiting, causing the stimulation of the vomiting, then we can block this. So I told you earlier कि जो आपको diagram दिखाई थी, जो flow chart है, in which the vomiting center is stimulated and getting signals from various other centers, that is very important. So this is your assignment for today's lecture, that you have to draw a flow chart or a diagram in which you have to show the various location of receptors and centers or triggering factors which stimulate vomiting, and how at the level of different centers and receptors the drugs are blocking the effect. So this is your assignment for today's lecture, the pathophysiology of emetics, emesis, and the site of action of antiemetic drugs. So prokinetics are basically the drugs which promote the GIT motility and quickens the gastric emptying. So we move on to our first drug, which is the D2 receptor antagonist, which are antagonizing the D2 receptors in the CTZ. Drugs available are metoclopramide and domperidone. These drugs are also called prokinetics due to their 5-HT4 agonist property, and domperidone is different from metoclopramide as number one, domperidone is given only through oral route, whereas metoclopramide can given through parenteral and oral route both. Metoclopramide crosses blood-brain barrier, but domperidone does not. So students, think a little bit and answer this question: which one is a better antiemetic, metoclopramide or domperidone? So let me answer it to you for your ease. Since we discussed initially that CTZ is outside BBB, which is blood-brain barrier, and both have antiemetic effects, but of course, metoclopramide crosses blood-brain barrier and it has adverse effects like extrapyramidal side effects because it is blocking the dopamine receptors. And when there is deficiency of dopamine, of course, you all know, as we have covered in the chapter of CNS, so it causes the Parkinsonian signs and symptoms, whereas domperidone is well tolerated. So this is a very important short question which comes ke name the prokinetics and write the adverse effects of metoclopramide, or you can be asked in such a way that how metoclopramide differs from domperidone, or you can be asked ke, which one would you prefer, metoclopramide or domperidone. So it is that you should prefer domperidone, and it is free of the side effects which affects the dopamine. So extrapyramidal side effects means Parkinsonian, especially facial expression is expressionless, speech is affected, and gait is also affected. And with that, I think we will end the part one of antiemetics and emetics over here, and we'll continue this lecture tomorrow. And for your assignment, let me tell you once again that you have to draw a diagram on your notebook and send on the WhatsApp group showing the pathophysiology of emesis as well as the site of action of various antiemetic drugs. Thank you very much.